African.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the show. This is The Couch. My name is Pratt. Thank you for staying with Pan-African TV, the best, simply the best TV station, ever. And this show happens to be the only TV show with a heart, Today, our conversations are two. Let me quickly run us through them. First, we'll start off with gender-based violence. Gender-based violence, it's a very important conversation that we would be getting into pretty shortly. We also would have a conversation on the impact and importance of public sector management program to the growth and development of Africa. You know how we love Africa here at Pan-African TV, and we are so fixated on the development of the continent, particularly its people. So that's a conversation you really do not want to miss. My guests are here, they are seated, they are poised, they are glorious and happy to have this conversation. But first, we'll take a quick commercial break. Stay with us.
Are you searching for the perfect venue to host your next event? Look no further than Meres Event Plus. Discover the epitome of sophistication with our Skybox Event Center. This indoor marvel offers spacious hall area accommodating up to 500 esteemed guests. This beautifully designed space can be tailored to suit various event types, from weddings and corporate gatherings to cultural celebrations and more. We give you a kitchen space where your culinary creativity takes center stage, from gourmet feasts to delectable treats. Our kitchen is the heart of flavor and delight. Our luxurious washrooms ensure comfort and convenience for all attendees, as well as maintaining the elegance of a special day. Our breathtaking waiting area is designed to make a lasting impression, while our top-of-the-range changing rooms are befitting of the VIPs of your event. Experience nature's charm at Tichiwa's grounds. Host an unforgettable outdoor event at the spacious and beautiful Tichiwa grounds, featuring a large lawn or terrace area capable of accommodating up to 700 cherished guests. Our changing rooms also provide privacy and ease for your special guests. Call us now on 030-341-6266 or 053-029-6067. Meres Event Plus, where celebrations come to life.
Welcome back to the show. This is The Couch, the only TV show with a heart. Tonight we are discussing gender-based violence, and I have my girl with me in the studio, one of the good peoples. She's here, Abna Biniwa Fusu. She's Executive Director, Yebetimi. Hey boo, hello.
Really nice to see you again.
I've been dragging you here forever. Why?
I've been all over the place causing trouble and getting insulted by Ghanaian men.
Do we care?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. But it's great to finally have you here. It's great. Let's do some small recap, and then we come back to gender-based violence. You've been very active with sanitary pad, products and all of that. For those of you who watched all of those shows, I'm sure you saw Biniwa, live in action, with a billboard and all of that. Do you think we are making headway? Briefly, and then we come back. Do you think we are making any headway?
Yeah, policy-wise, we made a little headway. So in following our march, Speaker promised that he would do his best to get the taxes scrapped. In November, we went to Parliament to listen to the budget reading, and it was only the VAT on imported raw materials and also the VAT on the finished products made in Ghana that were scrapped. And so it's left us wondering, what do we do now? Because, this is part of the things we're asking for. Now you do this, and you leave the taxes on the imported ones. And we know that the local industry currently doesn't have the capacity or isn't producing enough to service all of the menstruating women and girls in the country. So what do we do with that gap? So the conversation and the negotiating has been ongoing. In December, the CSO's platform on SDGs, which Ibitumi is part of, organized a meeting with, is it the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI?
AGI.
Yeah, we had a meeting with them, and they said, the budget was read and that was said, but there hasn't been a clear implementation strategy, so they are still trying to iron that out with the Ministry of Finance. Just last week, we had another meeting with them, and in that meeting, GRA was present, AGI was present, and we asked them, what's been happening? Why are pads still at the same price? Because the taxes were scrapped last year. And GRA said, we've given them the go-ahead. We've fully implemented it. Pads are supposed to be cheaper now. We've stopped putting taxes on the imported raw materials, so everything should be good. And we turned to AGI. AGI, this is what GRA is saying.
Well, hello.
It's not, it's not reflecting. What are you saying? And then they told us, as at the time the policy was implemented, they had already imported goods that they were still using, and those are the goods they are still using. And so, although GRA has said this, they can't immediately implement it because the things they have now, the products they have now, were bought with the taxes, and so they can't. And another thing also was that, this is an interesting bit, that their members, which, so AGI, currently, the pad manufacturing companies in Ghana are two, the main ones, Fatex, and the one that produces proper, forgotten, Sunda. Yeah, so those are the main local manufacturers. So they have tried importing because they have mostly run out of the ones they had, the materials they had before the taxes were scrapped. They've tried importing, and customs is telling them that the concessionary tax, which is 5%, has been scrapped, but they still have to pay the VAT. And they are saying, no, per the budget reading, we're supposed to pay absolutely nothing. And so we go back to GRA, and the man says, that's the correct interpretation, that they should pay no tax at all. And so now the conclusion was that both GRA and AGI and RCSOs are going to go figure this out with the Ministry of Finance to see what's the proper implementation is, because it seems customs at the port isn't fully briefed, or I don't know if it's willful ignorance, or I don't know what it is, but there seems to be a mishap or a miscommunication. And so we are hoping that we planned to meet again by the end of next month to ensure that all parties are the same, level or on the same page, and the policy can be properly implemented. So fingers crossed for how that goes.
Even the small concession, Benewa, even the small concession, because we are hoping for a lot.
Yeah.
We got this, and even the small concession, the implementation of this small concession has become so dramatic.
Yeah. Another interesting thing that popped up was that the the representative of AGI said, well, you know, even if we still get these tax deductions, you know, these what's the word? These taxes scrapped. There are other things that could still impact the cost of the parts.
This has been their position from the beginning.
Something like the CD depreciating. Something like he said there was currently a tax on emissions or something that they're trying to introduce. They would have to pay that tax as well, so that also impacts the cost. So it was looking like at the end of the day there isn't going to be much relief.
This has been his position from the beginning.
Yeah.
I remember that engagement, and you know, at Plan Ghana, you know, I remember him saying directly to me. He said, "Well, you guys could, you know, I was with Loretta and I think Makiza, and he said, you guys could, you know, agitate all you want. They could scrap the taxes and the prices will not change." He said that. He said that. So I'm not surprised that at least something has been scrapped. And he insists that other factors will make sure that...
And I mentioned this to him. So are you saying that we may not get any, I mean, Ghanaian women may not get any relief at all? Because this is what you wanted the whole time. He said, yeah, like I was saying, other things could still impact the price of parts, and
it's shameful. I'm sorry that I always tend to jump from 0 to 100 on this issue. But you know, the more we talk about it, it's shameful. It's what it is. It's really shameful that up until now, in spite of all the different levels of agitation, you know, we've done everything that is possible. Letters, engagements, what's it called? Demonstration. What's it called? Placard parade. Anything you can think about. We've done everything doable. And yet the prices remain the same. And we are lobbying as well, you know, behind the scenes. And the prices remain the same. But anyway, we'll come back and have this conversation. The whole show for this conversation. Promise.
Yeah, definitely. No, we need like
I'm putting you on the spot.
We need about an hour to get into this because
it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Okay. Our conversation today, however, is on gender-based violence. This is one more passion, you know, that you have. And listen, girl, you know, I love your energy. I love what you do. No, I really do. I really do. So this is one more passion that you have, that's gender-based violence. Talk us through it. I mean, for a lot of us, you know, we think that there are some aspects, you know, and for those of us specifically in Ghana right now, we tend to think that these conversations are unnecessary. You know, we seem to think that, oh, gender-based violence in Ghana, I don't know if you have that sense. When people have this position, what do you say to them?
I tell them to look around them, to analyze their perception or understanding of violence. Because when somebody doesn't see something as violence, it's difficult for them to be aware of it. It's difficult for them to understand when you're telling them about it. So if, let's say, for example, somebody doesn't see anything with a man beating his wife as a disciplinary measure, it doesn't matter what you tell him. He will tell you, yeah, you know, he's the husband. He has a right to do that. If you're a wife and you're not being obedient to your husband, the Bible permits him to discipline you. Our culture permits him to discipline you. So they don't see that as violence. So it's how violence has been normalized culturally, religiously, socially, just generally normalized. It's done to the extent that people can't recognize violence even when they're looking at it. Because for them, it's not violence, it's just a normal thing.
Right. I think for me, the biggest thing would be how we raise our children.
Definitely.
I think that's where we get it wrong. Because for me, I can't be teaching my son today that when he does something I don't like, I slap him, right? And then suddenly, when he's in his 20s, me, the same person, go back and tell him that it's not okay to slap somebody when they do something that is not right. You've been slapping me my whole life.
Yeah.
Right? It's messaging. It's indoctrinating, isn't it? If I'm training my children, male and female, and when somebody does something wrong, you hit the person, and the person grows with this his whole life. At what point do you turn around and now come and tell him that when somebody does something you don't like, talk?
Exactly.
Were you talking to me my whole life? So for me, perhaps that's where we need to start these conversations from. But are we happy to have these conversations?
It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. It's also challenging because we are so used to this way of doing things. People don't want to move away from that. There is also the issue about the alternative. People don't know the alternative. Parents are so used to problematic gender roles and socialization of their children. Like you mentioned your son. It's very normal for boys to pull the hairs of girls they like. Right in nursery, kindergarten, they will pull their hair, they will push them, and when the girls go complain, the teacher will say, oh, it's because he likes you, right? So he grows up thinking that if I like a girl, I can abuse her, and it's okay because I like her. And girls grow up thinking that a man can love me and still abuse me. He's abusing me because he loves me. So from the beginning, you are teaching the boy it's okay to hate a girl you like, and you are teaching the girl it's okay for a man who says he likes you or loves you to hate you. And so that's how we have boys growing up feeling entitled to women's bodies, feeling like they have the right to discipline a woman regardless of the circumstance, even regardless of who she is to him. If I can discipline a woman I'm in love with, of course I can discipline my sister, I can discipline a stranger I see on the road, I can grope a woman I meet in the club, I can force myself on a woman who doesn't want me because I am a man and I have that right to women's body. So like you said, we need to start from the basics, from how we socialize boys and girls. We teach boys that expression of anger is masculine. It's like showing anger with violence is masculine. That's what makes you a man. Showing anger by being meek and trying to explain yourself and crying is what is feminine. So if you're a girl, if you're a boy, you can show anger by hitting things, hitting walls, hitting people, and that is fine. That's what makes you a man. And you teach girls that when a man is doing this, your response should be meek. Try not to anger him more. Try not to exert yourself. Try not to defend yourself. You are the meeker gender. Try to cry, try talking him out of it, just be nice. And so we are raising a generation of angry boys and very meek women who tolerate abuse. And like you said, that's where we start getting it wrong.
Can go. There's something you said earlier that really struck me. You said we don't know the alternative. I mean, if I don't hit my son, what do I do with my son, right? If I don't, as a man, as a father, this issue about training differently. I've come back from work. My wife says, I've been waiting for you. He has done this. As a man, immediately my response has to be, manly. I have to be the one to shout, because we don't know the alternative. And it's shocking because the alternative simply is being a parent. Right?
Communicating.
Communicating. Talking to him like a human being, which is really what he is. Not a man, not a girl, just a human being. You are raising human beings. I mean, how do we get around it, Benny? I think about this all the time. Like, what is so wrong with talking to your child? Just communicating.
I say that at this point.
Let me add this and make it even more messy. They say you are spoiling the child.
That is it. They will tell you are spoiling the child. I have a friend, Mami, you've met her before. She has a son. And I remember that we were having a conversation, she was talking about how people see her with her son in spaces and people think she's spoiling the boy because she allows him to express himself. Like if she's in a space and the boy wants to say something to him, he can come, mommy, this, mommy, that's that. And they're like, your mother is with people, you don't have to come close to her. Like when adults are there, child should stay away. She's like, no, he's my son, he can talk to me whenever he wants to. He didn't interrupt anything, he came to me to ask to speak to me. That's okay. And so I say that it's up to us millennial parents. I'm not a parent, but I think because the older generation, they are very stuck in their ways. Also, a lot of them are not having children anymore. So it's really us millennials who are, having children more, are more exposed, have more access to technology that can help us learn alternative parenting. We have access to books, we have access to internet, we have access to all these coaches all over the place. It's up to us to make a conscious effort to learn alternative parenting. So instead of hating your child, how do you communicate with your child to let them know what they did is wrong, so we don't normalize violence? It's also really interesting because when we do this, they become traumatized people, and traumatized people traumatize other people. We are in a part of the world where therapy isn't a thing. If you go to therapy, people will tell you you're mentally unstable, you're mad. As a therapy, there's a huge stigma around therapy, so there isn't even that environment for people to try to heal. So if you are a mother, if you are a father, if you are a parent, yours is to prevent the trauma from the beginning. Don't let it happen. Learn to teach your boys how to communicate their feelings instead of using violence. And we've also made communication feminine. It's women who talk. I was watching a video on TikTok this morning. There's a little boy who went home and was telling his mother, the girls talk too much. And the mother asked him, why? He said, yeah, in class, he said he doesn't like kindergarten because the girls talk too much. They're always talking, they don't stop talking. And he asked, what about the boys? He said, the boys only talk when we have to. So the girls are always making noise and it's too loud. And people were laughing in the comments. And I was thinking to myself, this is how you bring up a generation of men who cannot communicate how they're feeling. You are teaching him talking is a girl's thing. This is what he's thinking. He comes home and as a parent, instead of you to teach him, that that's wrong, that anybody can be a talker, you just have to express how you're feeling. You are agreeing with him that the girls are yapping, and that's the word a lot of them were using. The girls were yapping, and so we've made expressing yourself, expressing how you're feeling, feminine, and that's how we have a lot of men with emotions bottled up, and the only way of expressing it is through violence.
They explode.
Yeah,
they explode. And the other thing is that the yapping then becomes nagging.
Yeah.
This man will grow up, this boy would grow up, become a man. He has a wife, and already in his mind, women yap.
Yeah.
So anytime his wife is trying to have a conversation, there she goes again about to nag me.
And that's what a lot of the older men in the chats were, the comments were saying, that welcome to the world, man. It won't change even when you are an adult. That's how they are for the rest of their lives. How are we normalizing this?
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if only we could just talk through issues. Isn't that so? I mean, the whole point is that, and we even have proverbs, local proverbs to say that no matter how big an issue is the mouth, and I'm trying to be literal here, is the mouth that will be used to sort it out, And yet we ignore all of this old wisdom, and then we go straight to, how are we looking like as a country? Ghana, what are the statistics saying? Is there any information you could share? I mean, the rest of us who don't work in the field and who don't know much about it, how is Ghana looking? How are we performing? What's our character? What do we look like in terms of gender-based violence?
We are not doing great, unfortunately. The last national level survey that was done, the survey on domestic violence, was 2016. If there's a new one, I haven't seen that yet, and I stand to be corrected. But the most current one I have seen is the 2016 one, and that shows that 27.7% of Ghanaian women have experienced one form or the other.
27.7%.
0.7%.
And these are the ones that are reported.
Yeah, these are the reported ones. But in 2020, there was another by UN Women that says that 24% of Ghanaian women have experienced intimate partner violence. I have some of the figures on my phone. I could read them or we could continue, but these are the general ones. And so that tells you that we are not doing great.
So, I mean, immediately I'm alarmed. I'm alarmed because the women, it takes a special kind of woman to go and report. It takes a very special kind of woman, you know, to go and report violence. So if we are ranging in the 20s, and 27 is pretty high, 27.7, that's almost 28%.
Yeah.
That's
almost half.
You know what, do you understand my alarm? Because the average Ghanaian woman would keep it to herself. You know, even those of us who claim we are enlightened and educated, and even us,
We don't.
I mean, how do I go and say anywhere that my husband hits me, right? So even us on this level are, so like I'm saying, it takes a special kind of woman and grave circumstances for a woman to go, very grave circumstances for a woman to go out and report. So if even those special kind of women are in the 27th percent, my goodness.
Yeah, it's like you mentioned, these are only the reported cases, right? And even those are like very grave circumstances that will force a woman to go and report. I know women in my personal close circles who are every now and then physically abused by their partners. And these are not even men they're married to, like just men they are dating. Yesterday, one of my friends was telling me about one incident that happened. They were trying to see how to go around it. So it's the verbal abuse. And when we talk about abuse, people always think it's the physical abuse. There's a verbal abuse, there's emotional abuse, there's a financial abuse, there is a sexual abuse. Boyfriends feel because we are dating, I can have sex with you at any time and you cannot say no, it should happen. In marriages, husbands, and the thing that irks me the most about marital rape is that they think it's not a thing. Like, I am married to you, I have paid your bride price.
You are mine.
You are mine.
Literally,
right? I've bought you. And so they're always fighting against the phrase marital rape, because for them it doesn't exist. If I've married you, you should be available to me, and if you say no and I do it by force, it's not rape. You're my wife. It cannot be rape. And so wives are not reporting these. A lot of the time also the women don't see anything wrong with it. They've accepted that I'm his. Even if I don't want it, I have to do it. So if he takes it, he's just taking what's his anyways. It's not rape. And so yeah, the figures are alarming. You think that for a country that has these figures will be more proactive about ending it, but no, we have a Domestic Violence Act that is poorly funded, and there's been calls for government to put more money into that, and we all know how that has gone. You know, it doesn't have enough funding, and so women, when they're sexually abused, a lot of the time have to go and pay for when you go to the police station to report, they are going to need a doctor's report, and to get this report you need to pay. Imagine being sexually abused and you have to open yourself up to be examined by a doctor, and you have to pay for that. And a lot of these women who get abused, and sometimes it's even little girls, it's teenage girls, it's women from very low income communities who can't even afford a 3-square meal. So where is she going to find the money to go get this report so she can come to the police station and make a case for herself or her daughter or whoever it is that has been abused? And so they go to the police station, they hear this, and they go back home and they never go back because they don't have the money. But if this act is properly funded and survivors don't have to pay this money to get this report, it will make it much, much easier for those who dare to report to actually go through the process and get some justice. But it isn't. And we have law enforcement personnel and agencies who themselves contribute to this problem. So we have sex workers who would just be randomly rounded up by policemen under the guise of arresting them because sex work is illegal in Ghana, and they will take them in, and they themselves will take the money that the women have gotten that night, they would take these monies from them. And some of them, and we've had reported cases. 2 weeks ago, I had a conversation with a lady who works with sex workers, and she spoke about how some of them would abuse the sex workers. They would sleep with them. They would tell them, okay, we either, do I have to, I either arrest you or you let me sleep with you. And they don't have the money. They don't want to be arrested, and so of course they'll give themselves up. And this isn't, it's not something they do willingly. You're basically coercing them into doing it. So that in itself is abuse. And all of this is happening, and we still have this very I will still call it willful ignorance, because when something is abusive, you don't have to be extremely educated to know that what I'm seeing is abuse, right? And so there's that bigger societal willful ignorance around issues of abuse. There is law enforcement that's supposed to help, not helping. Some of them are the ones asking survivors to go home and settle the case at home. You have a 28, 30, 40-year-old uncle raping his 10-year, 15-year, 7-year-old niece, and you have law enforcement telling them this is a family thing. Take it home and settle it at home. And so he goes scot-free. Whatever trauma the child is left with stays with that child, and everybody goes back to their life.
And he will do it again.
Exactly. He will do it again, and you're also sending a message to the other abusers that it's okay, you can do it and you'll still be fine, nothing will happen to you.
Which is my next thing. I mean, we've been having these conversations, right? I can't, I've lost count of how many times I've had conversations like these, but ultimately, I mean, where's the and I find myself asking this question all the time. Why is the collective outrage?
Yeah.
But because it sounds like a few people are the ones angry on behalf of everybody else.
Yeah.
Sometimes even the ones that are themselves, and we don't like to use the word victims, but in this instance, perhaps even the ones that are themselves going through this, enduring these things, they would look at you strangely, you're the one that's trying to, because there's no collective outrage. We are angry about unnecessary things in this country, but the things that, and I like what you say about humanity, because it's not about education, it's not about class, it's just about your humanity. What you wouldn't like done to you, why do you think it's okay? I mean, if you don't like the feeling, why would you? And it's a basic thing I do with kids. For instance, I'm calling you, you don't mind me. When you call me, I don't mind. And I asked you, how did that feel like? Did you like the feeling? If you didn't like the feeling, why would you think that I would like that feeling? Right? So, I mean, and this is a question, is a statement, I don't know what it is, but how you've been in this field for a while. How do you think we should come at this? Is it the laws? Should we make the punishments stiffer? Should we, I mean, what's the way around this?
Right. The way around is going back to the basics, like how we started this conversation. That's one way around it.
Take it back to the homes.
We need to go back to the homes. We need to, parents need to raise their children. Oh.
Sorry, baby.
Thank God this is recorded.
Sorry.
What was I saying? Parents need to train their children differently than how we've been raised. Socialization has to change. That's how we socialize our children has to change. We have to teach boys to respect girls, teach boys that being masculinity doesn't equate to violence, it doesn't equate to machoism, it doesn't equate to power and ownership. Teach girls that femininity doesn't mean meekness, it doesn't mean tolerating violence, it doesn't mean giving up your autonomy. Teach girls bodily autonomy. Teach them they can say no. Teach them they can say yes when they want to. It's basically about changing the way we socialize our boys and girls. It's about looking at pop culture. the things that influences us, because parents can do their bit when they come into the society and they're exposed to music, movies, news, TV programming, adverts. There are some very problematic adverts. You have adverts that are teaching, and all of these food adverts, it's always the woman cooking, the mother is cooking, and the father and the boys are playing football, and the food is done and they come and eat. It's the girl in the kitchen with them. Adverts, music especially. This week I went to sit on TV last week and said that we were talking about this earlier, that Obo's Konkontiba song promotes pedophilia and that song should be banned. The insult I have received, if insult could kill, I wouldn't make it here today, I'll be dead.
And I was telling you how I am shocked by that. Yeah. Because this is a call I've been making forever. Any chance I get, I call out that song. Yeah. Because it's a very problematic song.
Extremely problematic.
Where do you say? That song is terrible.
From beginning to end, everything about that song is problematic. It promotes pedophilia. There's a part of the song where it says or something like that. And I'm like, so you're not only saying pedophilia is okay, you have personalized it. So you are boldly telling men, you are likening little girls to mangoes, you are likening little girls to tadpoles. You are telling men it's okay to groom little girls and sleep with them. This is basically what you're saying. What's interesting is that a song that is the direct opposite of this song is Miss Bell's 16 Years. It's the direct opposite of this song, but she caught smoke for her song. People insulted her for promoting 16-year-olds dressing like adults. That's what they got from the song. In this song, even Castro, who was featured, rest his soul if he's indeed passed, even in that song, he says, men kada washini kawaya or when you know nusa. I said what's over waju, right? He mentions that time Dovsu was waju. He mentions that when she goes to report, you'll be taken to waju and you'll be arrested. So they're both he and Miss Bella basically saying that pedophilia is wrong.
A child is a child.
Exactly. She's a child.
I will look like this because I'm 16. I will have breasts. I'm 16. I will have a rounded figure because I am 16. But if you touch me, it's wrong.
Yeah. And people came for her for saying that 16-year-olds could look like adults. They were saying, oh yeah, why are you saying she could look like adults? Not focusing on the message that even though she's 16, she's still and she looks like an adult, she may dress like an adult, but she is still a child. And the people who have been insulting me since last week have been telling me legally 16-year-olds can consent to sex. And I said, okay, but does that make it okay? She's still a child. What does a 16-year-old know? We live in a society where we don't teach girls about their sexual and reproductive health. Even women in their 30s, I've met women in their 30s who don't know how their menstrual cycle works. Because these things are not taught.
Taboo.
It's a taboo. So how do you expect a 16-year-old to know any better? She doesn't. She's an adolescent. She's going through puberty changes. She's feeling all these ovulation horniness. She wants to belong, because we've made it look like if you're a 16-year-old and you can be with adult men, you belong. That shows you're matured. And they crave that. They want that recognition that they're matured, they're adults, they want to belong. It's an adolescent thing. She doesn't really want to be with an adult. She doesn't even know herself. She doesn't know what she's asking for. And so all of them are saying it's the 16-year-olds who are always chasing the older men. She doesn't know any better. And you, the adult who knows better, are the one who's supposed to stay away from her, protect her. But you are rather reeling her in because it fits your own pedophilic agenda.
I don't know why we don't like calling a spade what it is. You see,
because we're hypocrites
and I was asking you,
we are abusers.
What's the problem? It's a word that describes something. If I call you a pedophile as an adult who likes young children, I'm not insulting you. I'm telling you what you are.
Exactly.
That's why the word exists. it's like looking at you, Beniwa, with all your perfectly formed features and saying, Beniwa, you are beautiful. It's the word for it. That's the word for it.
Exactly.
So if I call you a pedophile for being a pedophile, you check yourself. You don't check me.
Yeah.
You check yourself.
Exactly.
And your preference for little girls, when grown women are all over the place. I mean,
they said the grown women have been run through.
By them.
That's what they've been calling me. They said I've been run through and I'm bitter. That's why I'm saying they can't date the little girls because I'm bitter. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But you know, it would get better because we will do better. And I've been thinking about this whole time. Once you know better, you do better. When you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
But once you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
And you know, I love that. It's like there's an awakening, you know, even within our traditional setup. And I'm referencing what happened with the Wulome and the gas state. You know, now there's some kind of awakening. When we see it, we call it out.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that. That gives me hope, you know, that, I mean, the explanations can come. The explanations may be valid or may not be valid, right? But when we see it, we call it out. And I wish that all of us would do that within our communities. You know, if you see a grown man grooming a child, then you call it out.
Yeah.
You call it out. This is wrong. This is not traditional. It's not traditional. It's not cultural. It's not spiritual. It's not ritual. It's pedophilia. That's what it is.
So the ones who called my wife, little. How is a little girl your wife? A grown man.
Unbelievable. You have a project coming up. I want us to go there before we forget. You have let's talk about your project on gender-based violence.
Yeah. So Yebetumi is running a 3-month project as part of our International Women's Day activities, and it's mainly about ending violence against women. So we've themed it solidarity against sexual and gender-based violence. So far, we've had community derbers, we've had workshops, we have a podcast that's currently running. Our 4th episode came out yesterday, so we have about 3 more episodes to come. This conversation is part of those activities, and we are mainly talking about how violence affects women from different demographics. So we're talking about women with disabilities, we are talking about queer women, we are talking about female sex workers, we are talking about women from low-income communities, women from all the different demographics, even non-binary women. How non-binary, okay, let's not get into that, but just how that would be a long conversation. But generally how violence affects all these women from these women, I mean the different demographics of women and women as a bigger demographic, and how as individuals, as a society and as a country we can speedily quickly end all these forms of violence so women can live in dignity, women can live without fear, women can live to their fullest potential. Because if a girl is getting sexually abused, it's costing her some part of her life. If a woman is getting abused, it's impacting her life, all aspects of her life. And so we want women to not be afraid to step out. We want wives to not be afraid of their partners. We don't want women to see marriages as a death sentence. We don't want women seeking employment to be abused at the workplace, or even before they are hired. We want girls to be able to stay in school without being abused in any way. And we want women to just generally feel free to wear what they want to wear, to speak how they want to speak, to present themselves how they want to present themselves, to define who they are in society and wherever they find themselves without any fear or intimidation.
Are you hopeful we can get there?
It will take a while. Gauging how things are happening and the feedback we get when we have these conversations, it's a long way ahead, but that's why we are fighting, right? We are hoping to get to the finish line. Small.
That's
what they say, right?
Yeah.
We'll get there.
We will get there. But you know, as we are calling out the men, and I love the way you ended, as we are calling out the men, I love the fact that we're emboldening the girls.
Yeah.
You know, as we call out the men, we embolden the girls, and we say that speak out.
Yeah.
Speak out. If you don't like it, you don't like it. You don't like it. There's this saying, I remember sometimes when I was doing my national service at Commercial Bank, I remember one of the elderly women saying to me that as a woman, if you are too assertive, you can't be loved. And I remember thinking,
that's a lie we are feeding little girls.
Right?
Yeah. We teach them not to be outspoken. We teach them to hide their voice. And when you do that, when they are abused, they won't say it because you've taught them not to use their voice. You've taken their autonomy from them. And so when they get to the point where they're getting abused and they say, oh, why didn't you report it? Well, you've been telling me my whole life I shouldn't speak. So why will I speak now?
We will get there. We'll get there. Thank you very much. Final words. Final words. Final words.
Final words. Abuse isn't justifiable under any circumstance. It doesn't matter how a woman spoke. It doesn't matter how she's dressed. It doesn't matter how she carries herself. It doesn't matter what she does for work. It doesn't matter her socioeconomic status. Nothing justifies abuse. Women are full human beings with dignity, with the same rights as men, and any form of violence against women is wrong. We are telling men that women aren't your properties, no matter how they are related to you. Treat any woman how you'd want your sister, your brother, your sister, your mother, yourself to be treated. And I hate to say, to say this because we don't want men to only respect women based on their proximity to them. But that's how men understand how to treat women. Like, oh, okay, if I don't do this to my sister, then I shouldn't do this to this woman. But we're also telling women that it's not okay to be abused. It's not okay. It doesn't matter what you did. You don't deserve to be abused in any way. And if anyone abuses you, go report the person. You have a right to self-defense. You have a right to your body autonomy. Nobody should touch you without your consent. And if it ever happens to you, even if it's just insult, please go report this person. There is a law that protects you and makes sure that that right is respected.
Thank you. Thank you, Benewa. Thank you. Thank you so much for. Thank you. Small. We'll get there. Small. And once we know better, we do better. We do better. Please don't go away. Next conversation continues. Stay with us. Back from the break. This is still the couch. And we are still having our conversations for this evening. So we just finished that conversation on gender-based violence. Our next conversation is on the impact and importance of public sector management, the public sector management program to the growth and development of Africa. I've been joined by a whole team. Let me quickly introduce them. So I've been joined by Mr. Benjamin Kwame Livenberg, who's a senior human resource management. Hello, sir. It's great to meet you. You're welcome. We've also been joined by Jonita N. Suwa, student PSM Liberia. Jonita?
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
It's actually Sona.
Sona.
Yes.
Sona. Jonita Sona.
Yes.
N. Sona.
Yes.
Lovely to meet you.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you. We've also been joined by Hannah D. Colley, who is a student PSM Liberia. I see Lipa, am I right?
Yes, it's Lipa.
Lovely to meet you.
Thank you.
I hope Liberia is great.
Oh, Liberia is great.
Right. We've been joined by Gifty Ajiman, a local Ghana, PSM Ghana. Hi, Gifty.
Hi.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're welcome to the couch. You're welcome to the couch. I love it when I have the multinational representation. So it's lovely to meet you. Please tell me, what is this program? What is this program? Impact, importance, public sector management program. First of all, what does it entail before we come to its impact on the growth and development of Africa?
Okay, thanks again for having us. We really appreciate it.
Anytime.
The PSM is the Public Sector Management Program, and it's being run by the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration.
GIMPA.
Yes. So, it's a program under the School of Governance and Public Services. So, this program was part of the African Capacity Development Program for Anglophones, West African countries, and it was they have fundings from the UN to sponsor this program. So after the funding ends, Kimba now incorporate the program as their own to run. So before they had people coming from the Gambia, Liberia, Nigeria, Ghana, and Sierra Leone on the program. So it was people from diverse backgrounds, particularly for the development of Africa through this program. So now, as a student and a current student for the public sector management program, we noticed that the patient list has dropped since the withdrawal of the umbrella, the African Development Capacity Program that was on. Since the withdrawal, there have been countries that have withdrawn from the program. So currently for our class, we are only eight students, 4 Ghanaian and 4 Liberians. So each time any of our lecturers come, he say, this program was so amazing. We had people from all over. The discussion was interactive, and somehow I feel sad. We feel sad about it. So last week was our school day, the public service day. It's a maiden event, first of a kind, celebrating their achievement and everything. And we were asked as a course to submit a project to give back to the society and the school. So we thought it was that, since this is the case, I think by coming on the water platform, talking about the benefit, the importance of this program, and sharing our experience, it will also be will also be given back to the school and also be given back to the society. Because like if we continue the discussion and you know the benefit, the importance of the development of Africa, I think you'll even join us. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'm getting the sense that this was a UN sponsored program that brought together people from all across the continent to Gimpa, for this course. But the UN has withdrawn, the sponsorship, or it has ended.
Yes, it has
the sponsorship
ended,
has ended.
They had it for a time.
Right. It was time bound. That time has elapsed. So, because of that, now there's low patronage for the course. And because it's your school week, you want to use the only TV show with a hat to revamp interest in the course. I like that. I like that. I don't have any problem. Please use us and when you can. It's fine.
And thank you for having us.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Okay. So, beyond the fact that it's a course that brings together people from all, parts of the continent, which by itself is a great thing. I like opportunities where we get to share with other people from other parts of it. I think it's great. It's a great opportunity. But beyond that, what else do I get from being on this course?
So thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Having been I'm an alumnus of a PSNTP program, that's a Public Sector Management Training Program. And during our time, we had people from Liberia, Gambia, and then Sierra Leone and Nigeria couldn't come, like she rightly said, as the sponsorship was withdrawn. But I'm a public servant, I work with the local government service, or under the local government service, because I work in the regions and then the district across the country. I have moved around. But, and working as a public servant, it's like you are working and you don't know the kind of environment you are working in. But the PSNTP program prepares you. You now get the realization and awareness what you are there for. For instance, being an HR working in local government, it's like, okay, it's HR. But when I participated in a program, I then realized that I was there, or wherever I work, I'm there for the public good. I got to understand the principle of utilitarianism by, I think, Jeremy Bentley, that the working for the largest majority in terms of public policy and all that. I work in a policy environment where we formulate policies and implement. And this program gives you that awareness. Then also, we did courses like administrative law, Why do you need to understand that when you are a public servant? You know that your work is guided by laws and codes. How do they come about? You have discretion. If you're a police officer, you have some discretion, but you have a limited training. But this code gives you broader understanding of the environment you find yourself, that you are there for the public good. And even though you will not be able to satisfy everybody, whatever you do should benefit the greatest majority. You get all this awareness, policy formulation, international relation and diplomacy, even in this course with several educative courses. And not just that, they bring in people, the best in the field in the country. So when I was there, for instance, I had somebody like Dr. Kalistus Mahama being the lecturer. Before then, they had somebody like Professor Kwame Nahwe, who is a dawn when it comes to local government in Ghana since its inception from 1987 through to the until democracy came. He was the father in terms of decentralization. And you have somebody teaching like that, teaching you. You have somebody like Dr. Kalistus teaching you. Currently, when I inquired, the best in the field now is my boss, Dr. Nana Atu Ata, who is the head of local government. Sorry if I'm mentioning without his permission, but I heard he's the one going to take that program. You have somebody like that coming. You have people who have worked in conflicts, international conflict resolution and all that. So like somebody from Liberia who have had experience of this conflict, coming to understand how even conflicts come about, how it could be prevented and all that. And they look at even in interpersonal conflict, that is at the workplace and all that, before coming to the international level. You get all this understanding. Then you have strategic management, how to work in an organization. How does vision come about? So how do you do forecast? So they have several courses that you have been trained as a manager. So you need to understand vision, how to lead leadership and governance, who is a charismatic leader. You are not only learning theory, but you are giving project to experience it practically in the field. They let you now realize in your work environment, if you are, let's say you work here, Pan-African television, you are broadcasting, but you talking to people from various fields, and you talk about development. So, and this public good I've been talking about, what kind of skills, soft skills, hard skills do you need to be able to engage the people you interview, understand their perspective about issues? See, you get all this training, and it's so amazing. It's so really amazing. So people from all fields. I had mates from the private sector coming to do this program. In fact, our best student, our year group, was somebody who was a business person, a lady. She was not even working in the public sector or even private sector. She had a whole business in solar something.
But entrepreneur.
Yes. But you ask yourself, we learn something like international economics, international trade. We learn something about African Continental Free Trade Agreement. We have somebody like Dr. Vladimir Chidanso coming to teach in this program. So look at the people. I mentioned somebody like Professor Kwame Nahwe, who was part of the program for inception when he was under scholarship. Dr. Kalistus took over. That is just one course area. You have somebody come to teach, like Professor Chidanso, Vladimir Chidanso, and so many other people from diverse backgrounds with their rich, both academic and practical experience, engaging students, preparing you. So you could see that the course was carefully designed to take care of the needs of African countries. So you ask yourself, why can't people see that this is a great opportunity to enhance their career in these areas?
Perfect. I like everything you're saying. I love it, right? So, it's it's theory and practical, even in the classroom, so to speak. So, you know, the lectures and the names that you mentioned, my goodness, all of these names you are mentioning are people that are celebrated, you know, both in theory and in practice. These are people that, Mr. Ahoy, Ahoy, in terms of local governance, even in terms of diplomacy, he himself, you know. So I appreciate everything that you are saying, and, you know, even being there. But there's something that you said that I found very, very, very interesting. I want to go back there. When we think about public sector, we think inefficiency. Anytime we think public sector, we think inefficiency, because the attitude there is, it's not for me. The government is not my father. The government is not my mother. This is, you know, I mean, people who are chopping money, if I'm here, let me just come and chop my own and go, right? And so I love that there's a course that is created specifically for the people within that sector to reorient. Reorient, to unlearn, relearn, and do better. Because if the public sector is sufficient, this country, this continent would run better. So you have me.
That is one of the core areas of the training. In fact, when you go back, your orientation changes. Myself and some of my senior colleagues, currently the municipal coordinating director of Kro, that is Nungwa Kro, Madam Jemima Pedo partook in that program. She's a lady. When you look at her style of working, you notice that she's gone through the program, the kind of diplomacy, handling the community, and then the politicians, her attitude, achievement. There was a time ago when they ranked the whole Ghana, she was then in Adenta, she topped. Adenta constituency topped in the performance contracts that the local government organizes.
It's like you're reading my mind. Well, I was going to ask you.
Yes.
I was going to ask you how it's practical. Because sometimes there's theory.
Yes.
And there's practical. Sometimes you go and sit in the classroom and they'll be telling you something.
Yeah.
But as to how to actualize practically on the ground, so I was going to ask you, as all of you have either taken the course or are on the course, I wanted to find out from you practically how useful this course has been in your life. Maybe I'll take it one at a time. In your lives, how practically.
All right, thank you, Ms. Pratt. I'm John Letter, and you see, I'll give an example from Liberia. In Liberia, the schools has been running for some time, and the government of Liberia see the need to bring public servants most of the time to partake. And we have also seen that every time they come, they will go back. The way they work, things they do, they change. For example, in Liba, where I work with the Liberian Institute of Public Administration. So we do training for all government officials, government servants, public servants in government. So Liba send most of their staff, and they are trained on this program, and when they go back, they try to implement what they have learned to train others. So you found that we started to run other courses, sub-courses to develop public servants within Liberia. So you found both in the Ministry of Information, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Finance, they come to Liba and they learn sub-courses like procurement management, and monitoring and evaluation. So over the years, what they have learned, we see that they start to change, and we start to see something like a new public sector in government because of what they have learned, what they have been impacted over time, and it start to change.
So for you learn so that you can go back and teach others.
Yes.
Your departments, that's that.
And because of the improvement we see from those that went back. So that's some of the reasons that we're even encouraged to come and do the course. Yes, because every time people come, they study the course, they go back to the library, you see that their way of working it change.
It's different.
The way of doing things is changing over time. So we also want to improve ourselves. So we say, but then we'll go into public sector management to do the same. In fact, most of our administration, they even recommend that more public servants come to do the particular course, so that they will see more improvement in the public service.
Right. Say you briefly.
Yes. For me, I didn't even planned doing this course, but I'd planned going to University of Ghana Law School. I wrote the exam pass and I went for the interview and something, and I made this course like plan B. By ending up even being the best decision I ever took.
Wow.
Yes, because I already had a first master's at Legon, which was also similar to this, but that one was just democracy. If I say similar, it means it was a UN institute. It was they call it RAPES, United Nations Regional Institute for Population Studies. It was also established at Legon from 72 to train demographers for Anglophone West Africa, Anglophone Africa actually. And at the point the UN withdrew and we had to go and all that. But that training was focused towards just demography, human population understanding. So I wanted something, and I went to law school, and that didn't work. But when I went through the courses that GIMPA, I saw MBA and all that, MBA, HR, MBA, fine. Then somehow I click on PSNTP. When I look at the content of the program, I said, if I'll be a public servant, this is what I need, and I've not regretted it. The kind of training I've had, the contacts, the diplomacy skills, the management skills, they usually give you the best of professionals from the field. And for me, the life-changing experience from this course is that when I got back, I now realized that this is what I'm supposed to do. My life and my working skills and things have changed. My communication skills, because we are taught communication actually. I mean, just imagine, Mr. Pratt, the one of blessed memory, was my lecturer. I can imagine the man who started, exactly, the man who started Talking Point on GTV in Ghana when we were small and we were watching Talking Point. So you can imagine all these people training you. You go back so much, and those are the things. My communication skills improve in terms of writing, in terms of even relationship in the workplace, and then also even the local government, understanding the law and public policy. You know, at the district assemblies we have planning. We plan, in fact, we plan for the development of our communities, and we send to the government. We budget, we do all these things. You understand why you are there, that you are there to serve the public, not your personal interest. So the interest to serve actually grow, and you get all the skills, the soft skills, the hard skills that you need. People don't know that you need certain soft skills to work in an environment, because you are working with people who don't have the same knowledge level like you, and you need to know how to interact with them. You need to bring them on board, because the essence of development is participation. How do you let the communities participate in the development process and all that? We are taught all that actually at GIMPA when we were there, and from the people who took over and all that. All this is happening, so that change.
Right. You're right. Listening to you, I didn't want to go and do the course myself. Sure. Because it's all encompassing. Please talk to me.
So I'm very sure after here you will take the course as well. I will be expecting you. So yes, for me, it's my personal experience has been amazing, really amazing, because like I said, even for us, where we only have 2 countries in the class, it's still amazing. So I can imagine, no wonder he got so many to say yes, because sometimes working back home and then you see things, you feel like it's so unique to your country, especially for Africa. But when you come and then this discussion come out in class, you find out it's the same thing. From the Ghanaian perspective, it's the same thing. So when you check the Sierra perspective, the same thing. So in class, while giving our viewer perspective, the things that we do, how we fall short in our country, looking at the Ghanaian perspective and getting ideas for them. So it just changed our whole narrative, our whole mindset about things. And I can't wait to go back home. Seriously, I can't wait to go back home, because there are a lot I have learned. There have so many things I have seen. There are so many perspectives I have learned from Africa problem, especially when it comes to governance and leadership. And another thing, I've worked in the public sector for about 4 or 5 years now. but for about 9 years, I've been in the civil society space. So in doing this course, especially when we're doing policy, governance, so I've got to learn new things, how we can influence policy, how we can liaise with government to influence policy for some things to be done, especially in the civil society space. So it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. It's a course that I think every professional should find reason years of doing, every professional. So it's not just limited to a particular. Once you have interest in, so it's not even limited again to the public sector. Even cut across governance, it cut across civil society, even NGOs. So once you are dealing with public, it is something that you should find interest in. Yes, you should be able to do. You won't regret it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Gifty. Gifty, let's go. What has been the benefits of this course? And Gifty, I know that you work in the private sector.
Yes.
Yeah, because Gifty, you work with the Insight newspaper, militant publications. Right? The face behind the newspaper. Let's just say one of the faces behind the newspaper.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Right.
I was looking for something to, like, a course to undertake, like masters. So one day I was talking to someone. The person told me, "Why don't you go to Gimpa and do public sector management?" I said, "Public sector management, but I'm working in the private sector." So the person gave me some website to go and check. So I checked myself, and the subject I saw under the course, I said, "Wow, okay, let me give it a try." So I applied and I got it. So we started. People were asking me, "You are in the private sector and you are doing this course. Can't you look for other course?" I said, "No, let me try it and see." So our first quarter, we went through public policy, administrative law, communication skills, and public sector management in Africa, and other subjects. And I said, wow. For me, my experience in this course cut across every endeavor. You can work in the private sector, the government sector, even the no-profit entities. And being a journalist, it has formed my indecision, like the policy, how policies are created in government, and how I can report to my audience to understand the policy making process. And now we are learning entrepreneurship. Is wow.
We are learning entrepreneurship under the course.
Yes.
Oh wow.
It was amazing. So after this course, you can do your own work and still work.
But you see, you can even use those skills that entrepreneurs use within the public sector.
Yes.
You know,
that is
how to know?
It's so amazing.
Right.
They were able to craft the course such that, as a private person, you understand entrepreneurship.
Right.
Working in the public sector, you understand how that entrepreneurship environment, and they give you the practical feeling. I mean, my time, we were asked to design a project and present both in groups and individually. We were taken to what we call it. We had a course field work at the Blue Skies. I never knew that blue sky scene there. It's not just some fruit juice they do for us here. But I got to know that they are one of the largest employers in Ghana, and actually the fruit, the pineapple that we have here, that is what Queen Elizabeth and Co. even eat.
When you are done talking, I'll give you an invoice for Blue Skies. But
sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. Sorry. Well, yes. But the amazing thing is that Queen Elizabeth I'm talking about not even about Blue Skies, but they eat our pineapple here and our mango we produce here, which we don't see. But the packaging, that's the entrepreneurship there, how they cut it. And even we ourselves, we are not able to eat what they produce because we can't afford. But the white, it goes to the big malls across the world. And this is from Ghana, and it's as a result of what?
Entrepreneurship. I wanted to finish. I want Gifty to conclude on her points. And we have a few minutes, my goodness, we have a few minutes to go. So conclude, then everybody will have a final word.
My decision in reporting, how to report accurately, and I get the insight of reporting accurately to my public to understand me and to hold government accountable, because now I know how policies are being created and what goes into it, and accountability part, what government is supposed to do for the public or the citizenry, and they are not doing it. So as for a journalist, it's opened my mind. It's an eye opener for me to know certain things I did not know earlier. So it cut across every settings.
Right. So once you are done with the course, the insights will be given as we'll be expecting some exposés from the insights newspaper. Right. I saw that you wanted to say something.
Yes.
But also, just so that we say our final words and then we are out of here. We don't have time, unfortunately. Please go ahead.
Okay. So the issue of the public sector, I should say, is not limited to just the public sector. Because as soon as you hear public sector management, most people feel that it's just public sector. So we got something, there is something called public sector management, and we have the public service. So there are two things. The public sector, because it's
the whole public.
Everything.
It's not just the governmental sector.
Yes, even the private is within the public sector.
Right.
Or the service, when you say public service, those are the public services that is done within the public sector.
Right.
So a private person, an entrepreneur, or person that is a civil person can also partake within this particular course.
Service.
That's it. So you also will learn a lot of different disciplines within this course. So it's not limited to public sector. I don't want more people to go. As soon as you hear public sector, people say it's for
government workers.
Yes, it's not for government workers.
Because what I do is public service too.
Yes. So and we have governance and leadership within public. So if we limit it to governance and leadership, then you can say for only government workers. But public sector management is across.
Cuts across all industries. Thank you. Final word, sir.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, so what I would say is that we've spoken and given details a month, but people, whenever anybody wants to choose a course to do, they should look at the course content. It's very important, because this is a course that when you look at the content, you know that, hey, whatever amount you are spending, you are going to get more than the amount, because if you is the only course in the country that runs, I mean, for master's level, 20 courses, and quarterly. So sometimes when your colleagues even in the same school are on holidays, you are still in school learning.
Hey.
Right. And very intensive and very rich. I mean, one of the courses one of the courses we had, that is conflict and post-conflict reconstruction. Some of the video presentations of things we saw happening in other African countries, you will cry.
Value for money.
Cultural
value for money. So you're saying that for this course it's value for money.
Value for money.
Okay, what's the value? What's the damage? How expensive or not expensive is this course? Is it expensive? Can I afford it?
You can afford it.
Okay, can my floor manager afford it?
Yes.
Can the lady who is selling a plantain across the street, can she afford it?
Yes.
Oh, she did. She should sacrifice.
What I'm trying to say about the value is more than any amount you pay for that course.
Right.
So there's every sacrifice you make to do it is worth it, because you as an individual, you have some fulfillment. I mean, you see, human being is not what you keep around you alone, like in terms of wealth, but what you keep within
your mind,
your reach, how you enrich your mind.
Right.
Because I feel like I can go anywhere and I will understand what they are doing because of what I got from Gimpa.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Yes. Are we okay? Or does anybody else want final words? Okay. So in France.
So conclude again, let us not forget what we are here for.
Right.
It's mostly about patronage.
Right.
So I just want to say thank you again for having us here, and to let the public know that this program is being offered by the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, KIMPA, and it's a 1-year master program. So it runs from January to December. You can check on our website for more details. Trust me, it is something that you actually get the value for money. And I know it's you. You'll be one of the students comes next intake. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time here. Anytime. Anything that has to do with enriching the mind, developing Africa, count me in. You're welcome. Well, thank you for watching. I think that for both conversations, just one thing runs through for me. When you know better, you do better. When you know better, you do better. So if you can get knowledge so you can know better, get the knowledge. So once you have the knowledge, you do better. Have a lovely evening. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.